We have only 35 chambers. There is no 36.
I know that. But I want to create a new chamber.
And what would that be?
I think Shaolin techniques should be available to all. So then, that's my idea for a new chamber. To teach the martial arts to the people. Anybody.
All right, welcome back to another episode of My 3 Cents. And how's everybody doing out there during this trying time where we're all stuck at home and don't know what to do, and some people are panicking, people are waiting on money, trying to figure out how to navigate the systems that they put us so deeply in that we depend on it. And this is really showing a lot about the state of the country, the government, the people, the mind frames of all of us. What is this time causing us to do? Are we reflecting? Are we sulking? Do we feel justified in being upset? Think about what this time is causing you to do and how you're reacting. Just take a moment to think about that, right? So today, and I know that with most of the people all is well, and I know a lot of people are trying to rise above. So congratulations if you've made it to those ways of thinking where you are in your now and all you're trying to do is use your moments wisely, right? Not use moments of now to spend more time in the past. So today's episode is going to be an episode I wanted to do for a long time, and I'm just kind of getting around to doing it simply because I wanted the listeners to have certain understandings on the way to this, because this is an integral part of a lot of the different things we've been talking about and addressing. So today's episode, I know you've already seen the title, is going to be frequency and vibration. This is one of the most important things that we should understand, but it's one of the least talked about things because in some instances it gets complicated trying to figure out what we're talking about, right? And even trying to explain this to people, it will become complicated. Now, the thing about that is that it's not necessarily their time to get the information. That's why you got to know when to tell somebody something and when to sit on it until they're ready for it, right? Because this is the knowledge that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, which is also just to say, the teacher doesn't have to be a person. The teacher can be the knowledge. The teacher can be synchronicities that you find throughout the day, that you meet up with throughout the day, that spark and that you recognize, right? That you're in. Along with things like deja vu. These can be the teacher as well. So don't always think of a teacher as a person. As soon as you hear the word teacher, you think of somebody that looks like you as far as being in a body trying to tell you something. Right? So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear is also like saying when the student is ready, the information will come that will show them something. It's the same, you can say it that way as well. So, that being said, I feel like now we're at a point where I could go in on this frequency and vibration. You've gotten to know me a little bit. You know that I like to get a little bit intricate into some of these topics, just enough to spark your mind and your thought process at least, right? I don't want to be surface level with anything, or I wouldn't be doing this. So today I also want to say a little disclaimer, because I do get feedback from different people that listen to the podcast. And look, I appreciate all of it. And I don't expect everybody to feel the same way. And I actually like to hear the controversial thoughts and the different ways that people are perceiving what I'm saying and doing. I don't mind that at all, right? That's cool. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to judge you for what your capacity is. So I'm not going to judge you for what you're able to take in until you start rejecting information, right? A wise man doesn't reject what he doesn't know. You see what I'm saying? But hey, do you? So I want to just say that I want you to always remember that my recordings are just really to address different ideas. They are meant to spark research and also meant to shed light on what I like to call shadowy information. Stuff that people aren't really gonna explain because it will divulge too much. You know, to explain some of these things to the masses would basically destroy the machine. It would start tearing up the machine that they work so hard to build. So what's the point of that? So what you got to realize is that for there even to be a word such as knowledge in our vocabulary, you got to understand that because, you know, that exists because of the idea that the masses don't know what a smaller percent of people would know. I mean, it's plain and simple. That's why I like to study etymology, because I like to let people know that, you know, through the etymology is where you find the true meaning. It's the same format. It's the same format, you know. There's a lot of stuff they're just not going to tell us. They're not going to teach it to your kids in school. They're actually going to teach them the opposite of the information. They're actually going to teach them the opposite on purpose. So let's go. Let's dive into today's episode. This is Frequency and Vibration. Get your pads out because this is going to get a little hairy, but it won't get scary. So don't worry about it. Just stay with me because I feel like right now a lot of y'all have matured to a certain point. So I am hearing great feedback from some people, and I'm going to give a shout out here at the end to somebody new that reached out through email, took that extra step to express how they feel about the podcast. So look forward to that and see who that is. So let's dive into this thing, man. So look, I'm going to give you a lot of information. This is going to be, you can write this down. This is going to be based on the history of frequency and vibration. I'm going to give you where it came from, the idea of understanding this whole thing. How it's related to nature, how it's related to you, your chakras, how it's related to music. So if you're an artist, if you're somebody that does music, this is an episode that you don't want to miss. And if you know somebody that does music, share this episode with them so they can understand the responsibility that they have by using music as one of their main forms of expression. That is a great responsibility. And I think that that's being overlooked nowadays. And really, the frequency and vibration is the reason it's being overlooked. Because I can bypass some of your thoughts by using and manipulating your mind with frequency and vibration. Let's go. So, first thing I want to say is the main beat, the main rhythm that we always want to think about first when we understand frequency and vibration is the one that's happening in your chest cavity, right? Your heartbeat. This is the rhythm that your song is played to. You know how when you play a piano or something and you put the, I forget what it's called, but it's what actually keeps the beat, the tempo to what you're about to play. This is what your heart does. It's the same thing. It's the tempo for the song. You are the song. How you carry on, how your personality shines, how you put yourself upon the world is the song. If you guys hear something in the background, they're doing something outside, so I can't do anything about that. So yeah, we're just gonna keep it rocking. So remember that that heartbeat is the rhythm to your song, right? Your 7 chakras are a part of your harmonization. These are the things that you need to keep balanced. What is balance? Balance is also like saying harmony. So if we talking about music and we start referring to balance, we can just say harmony, harmonious, right? Boys to men type stuff, right? No instruments included, but I can hit them frequencies and combine those frequencies where you won't even miss the instrument that was just going to give you frequency anyway. You see, so it's all the same once we look at it a certain way. So just think about that heartbeat being the rhythm that your song plays to. The song is your life. It's everything. It's the totality. Some people have great songs. You start thinking about genres when you understand that. You start understanding rap, hip hop, rock and roll, different things. Soul, right? They talk about soul, the blues. You could also be blue or have the blues. I'm going to let you know that. This is how you get music called the blues. If you understand that color is frequency, and frequencies are color. If I play the frequency of the color blue, and I incorporate that into the music I make, which will affect you a certain way because it is a vibration that that also exists in you already. So look, if I play the blues, now you might understand what I'm saying, right? Playing the blues, playing the frequencies based on the color blue incorporated into the music. It's very simple. So this stuff is all about frequency and vibration. Soul music, soul, touch your soul with this music, man. It's the type of stuff that, you've heard a song before when it's almost made you cry or has made you cry. These are soulful songs, right? They're full of soul. What are we talking about when this whole thing that we're listening to is basically frequency and vibration only? So we got to understand the references of the soul and all these different emotions and things that are actually just the byproduct of certain frequencies and vibrations at certain times. So there's many things that can alter you at different times. Let's talk about two specific frequencies. Let's talk about 528 hertz. Let's talk about 440 hertz. You might have thought I was going to say 432, but we're going to start with 440. So for those of you that mess with the frequencies, have gotten into the chakras, that understand that there are also frequencies that you can listen to that will bring you certain states of mind, that will aid in your meditation, that will amp you up, give you focus, or whatever it is you're looking for. You're starting to probably understand that you can turn on certain frequencies and tap into that and be aided for that, right? Now, we haven't gotten mystical yet. Some people might say, all right, you're getting mystical, you're getting frequencies and you're changing. You got to understand that your life is a frequency. Your attitudes, those are different frequencies. Your chakras, they operate under different frequencies. Your organs, the organs of your body, they operate under different frequencies. They vibrate to their own frequency. That's why they're called organs, right? They have their own tunes, okay? The organ that you play as an instrument was named after the organs in your body, not the other way around. Okay? So it's just a physical representation of something that once it is tuned properly, it can deliver the goods, right? It can hit you with all the tones you want in a balanced way. So this is the same as you acting out every day. Are you balanced? How is your song playing? Is there a static? Is there distortion? We would call this depression, or we would call this manic behavior. You see what I'm saying? This is all the same knowledge. If you can't get to something one way, find another way to get to that same thing, because the way this realm operates, many things are the same thing in different forms, more so than not. So that's why they tell you there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? This is just all the same type of knowledge. Whenever you hear sayings like that, more than one way, more than one way. But then at the same time, if you follow religion, they're telling you there's only one way. So who you gonna believe, nature or some stuff that came out of some books that man gave you that, as you read the book, he's looking at you, hoping you ain't looking at him, seeing if you're gonna go with it. So we gotta understand why this stuff is made so important and why it's important for you to be so hooked on certain things and not other things. Why do they care? Right? So 528 hertz. 528 hertz is what is referred to as the love frequency. It is the creation of life in this realm, along with 432 hertz that is the creation, responsible for the creation of nature and everything that is green. It works in conjunction with 528 hertz, right? I'm gonna explain all this, don't worry. Just write it down. 440 hertz. Now, when we talked about 528 hertz as the love frequency, set that to the side, right? That is the frequency that your heart beats to. Once the beats in between your heart, like the space in between your beats are measured, right? This is how they know this. And when they measured the space in between the heartbeats. This is how you actually measure the beats. You have to measure what they call the empty space. So the space right now is more important than the beat when you're talking about measurement. This is very important because I'm going to touch on this again later with something else. So what they found is that the heart beats to the rhythm of 528 hertz. In all different forms, it will always be a form of the calculation of 528 hertz. You see? 528 hertz is one frequency responsible for life. Not all the frequencies responsible for life. But what you will find in all of those frequencies is that they will all equal either 3, 6, or 9 if you add them up and simplify them. Now, if you don't understand what that is, this comes from more of a Hebrew standpoint, right? Because their symbols all represent numbers, and they have high knowledge of numbers, the power of numbers, the meaning of numbers, and what numbers do in certain positions, right? When I do the religious episode, I'll touch on a whole lot more of that, trust me. But for right now, when I talk about combining and simplifying, let's say the knowledge that 9, right? We know that is the number for a completed cycle. Nothing rises above it. So 9 plus anything always equals that thing, right? So let's say 9 plus 5. Without even thinking, I know that it would have to be 14 because 9 plus 5, right? It will always equal 5. 9 plus anything will equal that thing, right? So 9 plus 5 is 14. What is 1 and 4? It is 5. It will happen every single time. Okay, 9 is just the number that does that, right? It is to show reflection as well. That's when you're talking about 1 times anything is that thing, okay? That is just you, reflection, 1. You are the 1. 1. You times anything is you, right? It is all is reflection. It's trying to show your connection with and your relationship with everything, all is self. So all is reflection, right? So these different things I'm touching on, just remember them, write them down, stay on this journey with me with this podcast, and you will learn a lot more if you like these types of topics. So moving on. When we're talking about 440 hertz, I want to first mention that in 1939, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefeller family, along with other associates, they had all the tuning. And if you don't know this, this is real information, right? This is not conspiracy theory, okay? Take it in. 1939. Write it down. Look it up. The Rockefeller Foundation, Rockefeller family, along with other associates, had all the tuning of instruments changed from 432 hertz to 440 hertz. Now, when you get into history, and if you're really into music, you already know this. You already know that the Beatles and different people put out different albums because of this change of frequency. One of the Beatles actually did an album in 432 hertz, and the industry did not like that, right? Because he specifically changed his music standard because he knew the effects it had on the brain and the body. He did not want to go along with the game at first. Look this stuff up. Very interesting, because it has to do with your music today and the same thing that's happening to us and our impressionable youth. That's why we care about it so much. Their minds are mush. They don't know how to decide what to hear and what to not listen to. And when that frequency or those beats grab them, they're basically victims in the making. You think it's cute for them to be dancing and twerking, but this is getting embedded into their DNA. Now you're messing with their genetics and you don't care. And maybe it's because a lot of us don't understand the power of this stuff. Let's go. So in 1939, when they changed all the instruments to the 440 hertz frequency, I repeat things a lot because I want to be extremely clear. I'm not going over this more than once, right? As a whole. They changed the instruments to 440 hertz, right? So, like I said, 528 hertz. This is the only frequency where the electromagnetic color is the actual same as the frequency of the sound, right? This is 528 hertz. Now, 528 hertz I think I said before that green was 432. I meant to say that the heart connects with 432. I'll explain this later. The heart is green chakra. The heart is actually also earth. So it's kind of complicated when you get into it with these two frequencies. But let's move forward. 528 hertz is the only frequency where the electromagnetic color spectrum is the same as the sound system. Now, we're talking about frequencies being put on a scale to where you can see what they are. So if you put them on an audio scale, right, and you would say, okay, this is the frequency that a human cannot hear, you will see a scale of frequency, you will see the range that the human can hear, and then you will see the frequencies outside of the human hearing range, right? And then it will give you examples of things that are in those frequencies. Very helpful charts to understand this. Now, when you get into the color charts, it'll show you those same frequencies, but it'll also show you what color they are. Because some of these frequencies are not audible, but they are just visual. And some of these frequencies will be, and you can make any frequency audible. That's the thing, right? You can use tone makers and stuff like that and turn to any frequency. But the way we normally experience a lot of these frequencies, like nature and stuff like that, is through the aesthetics of nature. It's through the green, it's through the plants, it's through the formation and how the flowers are created. As far as the number of petals is always a phi-based number, the golden ratio, God's fingerprint. The pine cone, the sunflower, all the things that are created in a mathematical way that a lot of people haven't taken the time to understand. The way that when plants are created, trees, branches, one leaf knows to grow itself to the other side of the other leaf that is already existing, because all is self. I am just an extension of myself. I'm going to move and grow out of my own way so that as a whole, I can achieve this sunlight, right? I don't have to stop growing if I know how to grow. So sometimes growing too fast can be detrimental. But when you understand how to grow to stay connected to source, this is what nature is also showing you. It is very important and very powerful in your life. So these things that nature knows how to do is embedded in the genetics of nature. Nature knows how to stay out of its own way, right? It knows how to put a branch here, put a branch there. It won't grow and keep trying to grow the same branch on the same section and have some type of messed up tree and let that just be a thing that happens with trees. No, there is a common knowledge amongst nature that nature shares. And man has yet to, as a whole, recognize and be able to understand and use properly and relate to self and understand that, wow, wait a minute, I am also created in the golden ratio. I am also created using phi, the golden ratio. This is why they say, phi is mathematically designed as a spiral within a rectangle. It's kind of complicated to explain. You have to see it for yourself. You have to look this stuff up. The golden ratio, look it up. Okay, the human body is also designed that way. From the joint separation, just for example, an easy way to see it is the joint separation from your shoulder to your elbow, from your elbow to your wrist, from your wrist to your phalanges, right? Your fingers, and then you see the separation on the fingers, all breaking down in a mathematical way. You don't understand this by just looking at it. You don't know what you're made of until you research it, right? You are also created mathematically. You cannot escape this mathematics. This is why a lot of people say we are living in a simulation, because everything is calculated. And because everything comes out to exact calculations and shows relation with each other, they say, well, there has to be this genius source that is higher than all of us that created us. And this is where we get into the whole dilemma, because we can't understand that by being the calculation, you are also the calculator. I'm going to save that for a whole nother podcast. Let's get back into frequency and vibration. So 528 hertz is green. It is the color green. And so this is cool because when you look at the color green, or even imagine the color green in your head, you're actually playing 528 hertz. It's the one frequency that does that. You see? So it's very interesting when you get into the color spectrums and the frequencies. It is the same in color as it is in sound. It doesn't have to be altered to give that perfect pitch that is the life tone, right? And how do they know that these tones bring life? Because there's a thing called cymatics that I've mentioned before, where you can literally see the design made from the frequency, either with water or with sand. There's multiple ways to do this. Or you can put a flat surface across the top of a speaker when you have the speaker pointed upwards, right? And you have this metallic type of square surface that you can pour salt or sand on, play the frequencies through the speaker, and all those salt crystals will all get into form. And they will all start making these brilliant designs and forms, and you'll start to understand that these frequencies are mathematic within themselves. This is wild. And this is what I'm created from. So if you want to see life, simply go and look at 432 hertz on a cymatics table, or look at 528 hertz through water that has been frozen, or through water crystals or snowflakes. Why do you think snowflakes look the way they look and they're so intricately designed? It is because they are being pressurized by an atmosphere that contains that frequency. And once they touch the atmosphere and hit that freezing form, they have been frozen in the form in which they were being affected by the 528 hertz frequency, the creation frequency, right? So the color spectrum is the same as the sound spectrum on that, right? It is the same in color as it is in sound. Remember that color is only frequency, but it is a visible frequency, so we call it something separate. We call it color, right? Just like the chakra shows up, just like the aura shows up in different colors, which just means you're vibrating at a different frequency, a different tone. You start to think about things like the trolls and all the stuff they teach the kids, the emotion cartoons and the movies, where you have the different angles and emotions and different things, all different color. You start to understand what they're doing. They're giving the chakra over and over, and they're singling out the functions of one chakra, making it into its own creature, and showing you how that affects the group. That is what all this stuff is doing, right? You got to be able to look at movies and TV and see it for what it is. Don't fall for what the vision they're trying to give you. Actually understand what they're doing and see beyond it. You don't have to cut out TV and movies. Just understand it, and it can also be an education. It can become a classroom if you're watching this stuff with the right people, right? Pause, talk about it, cut it back on. It's not that serious. We gotta not be so caught up so that we can break things down and understand and gain this knowledge, right? So we talked about the color spectrum. I want to get back to talking about what the Rockefellers did with 440 hertz and why they purposely did that. Now, 440 hertz is a frequency that, you know, when you have frequencies, right? Say I have your piano tuned to a certain frequency, which now is 440. Now, we know that there's multiple keys on a piano. So all of these keys are different tones of one frequency. Do you understand me so far? So when you hit the first key, it's gonna have that deep tone. You hit the last key, it's gonna have that light tone. It is one spectrum of tone. Now you're getting it. You already know this, just bring it out. When you have the white key and the black key, you have to understand that one is the key in its own tone, and one is what they call the key in a sharp tone, right? So if you have the key of F, then you would have F as the white key. The black key would then become F sharp. The preceding key would be, the following key would be F sharp, the following black key. Okay? So if you hit F sharp and F at the same time, you're gonna get this combined tone that will give you the full spectrum of the F. Okay. So I'm saying that to say this. 440 hertz. When you hit the F sharp on a piano or any instrument, a guitar, anything, the F sharp key, when something is tuned to 440 hertz, this frequency can kill the human body. This can kill you. Now, I want you to remember that everything created in the entire universe was created within 9 notes of sound. 9 notes of frequency. This is what's known as the solfeggio scale, right? The solfeggio scale is in the 9, but more so referred to by the first 6 frequencies. This is no different than the knowledge that they gave you with the 7 days of creation, which was really 6 because on the 7th, he rested, right? So this is the same knowledge of the frequencies of creation. So the other 3 frequencies that make the 9, they're used to complete the sound cycle. They are the frequencies that will complete this whole thing. This is the 3, 6, 9, if you haven't caught on to that. This is where you get the code that Nikola Tesla discovered in the universe. Einstein and a lot of other people discovered that is something within the universe that we can't get out of. It's the 369 code of creation. It has to do with these frequencies. So if you've been hearing about it, if it's never been explained to you, if you can't understand what they're talking about, you're on the right episode. So 9 notes total. 6 known as the solfeggio scale. The other 3 complete the sound cycle. The 3 that complete the sound cycle are 741 hertz, 417 hertz, and 174 hertz. Now, what did you notice about all 3 of those? They all contain a 7, a 4, and a 1. They all equal 12, which all breaks down to 3. 1 and 2 is 3. All life frequencies will give you the 369 code. Now, this sound cycle is put into imagery. You can actually look up the 9 notes of sound chart, and these are the sounds that create all other sound. Remember, all other sound is just the different keys on the piano. It's all the in-between sounds, the sharps, the highs, the lows within the same spectrum. Okay? So you can look up a chart and it'll show you a number chart that looks like a star, and it will be, let me see, it will be a 9-point star. Yes, it will be a 9-point star for the 9 frequencies, which is basically 3 triangles tilted to a different degree. Okay, slightly askew triangles. 3 of those will give you the 9-point star. The 9-point star represents all the sounds. 528 hertz will be in the middle of this star, but also exists on one of the tips of the star. Why is that? Because I told you 528 hertz is the love frequency. 528, 432, the 2 most important frequencies that created you. One was the rhythm, one was the action. Gave you the spiral. Remember the spiral of the galaxy that we live in. They call that God's fingerprint. That is also designed by the golden ratio. The spirals on your body, at all ends of your body where you were twisted off as far as how you were created within yourself. The ends of all your fingertips, the toes, the top of your head, in the middle where the spiral is. And this is all based upon the golden ratio and how you was created. So even when you came out of the womb, you came out in the fetal position. That's because you were created in a spiral. Okay? So this all links to these frequencies. I'm going to name the 9 frequencies real quick, and you can just write them down or rewind it, whatever you got to do. 396 hertz is at the top of the star, and I'm going to go to the right and come all the way back. So I'm going to go clockwise on these frequencies, starting with the top. 396 hertz, 417 hertz, 528 hertz, 639 hertz, 741, 852, 963, 174, 285, and then we're back to 396 hertz at the top in the 12th position. Okay? 528 hertz is also in the middle. It is the master frequency, is the frequency of love. 528 hertz is the heart of the rainbow as well. We all understand at this point that the rainbow, if you just take the rainbow that you see in the sky, the covenant, the promise, right? This is the promise of your greater body given the bodies that are inside you, right? This is full spectrum. This is all the colors. This is all the chakra. So when you take the rainbow and you flip it upside down, you have the complete order of the human chakra from the bottom up. Okay? And it's the complete colors, complete order, complete frequency. What you're seeing in the sky is a frequency. Okay? There's multiple frequencies all together showing up to give you a secret message that's really just about you. They tell you it's God's promise, but when you understand that the God is the highest mind state, and you are in the God body, then this is God's promise. This is the highest mind state promising you that your body will never be destroyed by water. Because guess what? This time you are water. You are mostly water. You are earth. Remember, earth just means body. So you got to get these codes and understand that this is a promise you've made to yourself. It's kind of hard to understand when you're coming from all these religions, but if it's meant for you to understand it, you'll get it. And it'll resonate with your spirit. If not, don't judge it. Because that'll keep you from growing, whether you get it or not. You'll stunt yourself. So 528 hertz, like I said, is the heart of the rainbow. It's green. And it is the key to creation. Remember, heart, like I told you, is also earth. It's an anagram. That's why the words exist this way. That's why they are the words that they are. It is an anagram for each other. If you take heart and you take the H off the front and you put it in the back, you'll have the word earth. It is the same thing. You have to study etymology, or you won't know how many things are actually the same thing, but they have been divided up over time as time kind of complicated language and communication. We started using too many words to say simple things when before all I did was give you a look or a gesture. See? So take note that each frequency is always equivalent to 3, 6, or 9. I gave you that. Now, I want to give you something very interesting. This is about classical music. Now, you know how they say let the babies listen to classical music. It'll make them smarter. It'll enhance their brain ability as far as the function of the brain will start early, right? Those neurons will get to firing early. That's the hopes. Why do they say that? It is because classical music was actually, a lot of it was created before Rockefeller changed the frequencies. So classical music is created in mostly 528 hertz, the golden ratio. Mic drop. This is why people tell you, if you want to be elevated by music, you got to listen to this music. We say, oh, we don't like that. You don't like it because you don't understand what it can do for you. Right? So I'm just decoding for you why the classical music is so important and why we refer to it as the thing that can unlock the brains of the children. Even while the child is in the womb, the mother has the child in the womb, she can feed the baby this energy by listening to it herself, because the vibration alone, the frequency alone will vibrate her cells. Remember, the cells are bathing in water at all times, regenerating themselves, constantly being vibrated to the rhythm of what you're doing. And if you're letting a frequency impede on your body, it's vibrating your water. Study cymatics. That's why that's important. Because when you understand that you can see these shapes through water, and then when you play distorted frequencies in that same water, that water becomes ugly. And you got to understand that the distorted frequencies like 440 hertz, the reason they can kill you is because they will vibrate your cells in an ugly way, to put it plainly. It will be an unhealthy vibration to your cellular structures. It will break them down and destroy them. It will keep them from flourishing. It will keep them from properly reproducing. It will actually be conducive to them destroying themselves from suffering. Tear them apart. Right? You got to understand that your cells are constantly regenerating. And like I always say, the most amazing thing about the body is that in those trillions of cells, each, if you can just single out one, it's you. It's you as a whole. It has all your chakra. It has everything. All your memories, everything. Each of them. So if those things are constantly, if you yourself are constantly regenerating within yourself, you got to love yourself more, man. You got to really understand why that's important to have. What does love yourself mean? Give yourself 528 hertz more often if you can't love yourself. At least let yourself feel the love. Don't deny yourselves the love or yourselves the love because you have a mental issue with yourself with love and conjuring the love frequency within yourself. I'm giving you the knowledge to where you can give it to yourself from the outside. If you're in a relationship and y'all arguing and the house has a certain type of energy or something like that, guess what? Now, one of y'all can go somewhere in the room, get your Bluetooth or whatever the case may be, and you can put on some music that's 528 hertz and quietly play them throughout the house. And look, it don't got to be cranked up, because if you understand how the body operates, right, within hearing, there are frequencies that the human can hear that the human cannot consciously know that they can hear. You can actually hear all frequencies. So when we're referring to frequency scales of hearing, we're talking about what the human is consciously able to know that they are hearing. See? So there are sounds you can hear without being totally turned all the way up. So you can turn the frequency down, almost on mute. And look, when I first started the awakening process, as far as when it came to me, I didn't look for this, right? It came to me because of everything I've been through. It brought me to this point. I noticed that I was able to hear the television while it was on mute, and that I was being shown that there was no such thing as mute, because how could you put the frequency over sound? It's nothing being put over sound. It's something being put there instead of the sound that you think you're not hearing. They call that mute. It is not the cutting off of sound like you might think. It is another frequency that is overriding the sound. You see? So things like this are how you start to see your surroundings, and you start to understand that while you thought you was watching the TV been watching you the whole time, and it's been on you. Because if you think that television stops at the screen, then you are sadly mistaken about how this whole thing works. That screen is designed to make you perceive the picture on the screen, but the truth is, it's being blasted into the house. If you don't believe me, cut all the lights off at night and cut the TV on. How much light will there be in the room? That's all TV blasts. That's everything it can touch. Why do you think they encourage us to get bigger and bigger TVs that are clearer and clearer? You can't see clear enough? Jesus. You don't wear glasses, but you keep getting 4K, 8K TVs. Which is it? Do you need to see better, or are you just following the program? You don't even know why you're doing it. So let's go. Let's get back into it. Now, we're talking that 740 hertz. I'm going to get back on it because this is a lot. It's a lot to take in when you get on these frequencies. This stuff is important. But just finishing that last thought. Yeah, if you arguing, man, one of y'all go somewhere in a different room and put some frequencies on, man. It'll instantly lift the vibration in the house. It'll instantly change the mood. It's amazing how that stuff works. And even though music is tuned to those frequencies, I also want to mention, I don't want to forget to mention this. You can go on places like YouTube and stuff like that and actually type in rap or whatever you like to listen to. But guess what? Type in 432 hertz after it. 432, 432, and then a capital H and a lowercase z. And watch what happens. You'll find that a lot of your favorite music also comes in 432 hertz. Why? Because they know. If they didn't know, that wouldn't be there, right? So you can listen to it with a different feeling on it, because the way it is now is designed for you to get so deeply involved in it that the subject matter can affect your cells. The music is meant to grab you. The subject matter is meant to affect your cells, because no matter if you think you're listening or paying attention to it to that degree or not, you are, because the overmind is always listening and always paying close attention. It is the conscious mind that is the issue, right? The conscious mind has the attention deficit disorder, right? So the tone of 741 hertz. This is one of the frequencies that I gave you that, remember I said there are 3 that complete the cycle. All the other ones were life, the 6. These are the 3 that make the 9. The 741, the 417, the 174. Those 3 numbers. I'm going to tell you something about 741. Very interesting. They know all this stuff, man. Get this information. The tone 741 hertz in musicology, if you study music, it's called musicology, is referred to as the devil's interval. I repeat, 741 hertz in musicology is referred to as the devil's interval. It is mostly used in hard rock. It is a frequency that they like to use in hard rock because of how it vibrates your insides, how it strikes you, and how it makes you feel. 741 hertz. Now, if you combine, and this is crazy, this is mathematics with this, man. If you combine 741 hertz, which they already told you was what they call the devil's interval, with 528 hertz, which I already told you is life, is nature, is God energy, source energy. If I already told you that, guess what they do with music? They combine 741 and 528. And what that does is it creates a diseasing, stressful energy that the constant taking in of it could kill a human being. You see? Now, pay attention to what I just told you about how they found the combination of this frequency. If they're calling one frequency the devil, and they're calling one frequency the source, do you see what just happened once again for all your religious followers? Once again, they have given you that narrative of the God and the devil, the good and the evil. Back in Kemet, it was Osiris and Set, right? The sun would rise, every night Set would win because the sun would set. And it would be darkness, right? The great darkness. We got to get out of these crazy ways of thinking and just understand what we're talking about so we can have an intelligent conversation, to say the least. Man. So they combine what they call the devil with nature, and they got this type of stressful energy that could kill the actual human out of his physical form. It can separate the spirit from the body, right? Notice that I stressed that this is a diseasing sound, because this is a frequency that can signal disease, that can kill man, such as cancer, the double serpent, the can and the sir. That is known as the double serpent, if you study etymology. Right? How do you get cancer from sounds and frequencies? Because what's happening to with the sounds and the frequencies is that it is stressing the cells. It is stressing the cellular structures. So by playing those sounds, This is why they say cancerous cells, right? They're telling you that the cancer will go down to the smallest part of you to try to grow itself. It will become a cellular problem first, right? A cellular issue. So cancerous cells, these are cells being given the wrong vibration, obviously. They're distorted at the time, and they're trying to affect the other cells like music does, like vibration does, like frequency does. So we'll get into a little bit of it in the next part. I'm going to do 2 parts on this within this episode, but we'll get into it on the next part on how certain frequencies could also kill diseases and cancerous cells and destroy the cancer. Just frequency, not medicine, not radiation. What radiates? Sound, frequency. And they're using a type of radiation. See? But it radiates so hard that it destroys other things that are attached to the body that need to stay at a certain frequency themselves, like hair growth and other things in the organs. So, like I said, this is done by stressing the cells, and the powers that be, or the people in charge of music and industry, they've had this knowledge for a very long time, and it plays a major part in what they call population control and manipulation of people within the population. Even the pyramids are constructed to the 369 mathematical formula, ancient Kemet. So they had the knowledge. Higher knowledge of a higher math. This stuff has been existed a long time ago, right? So again, this is why in 1939, the Rockefellers instituted the world's standard tuning to A440. This is A440. This is the frequency that they only changed in the Western world, in the United States of America. So when instruments are tuned to this precise frequency and you hit F sharp, the F sharp note is precisely 741 hertz. So A439. So A439 hertz or A441 hertz would not be damaging and would be closer to the actual source of creation just by being off by 1 degree of frequency. Instead of being A440 hertz, which kills and stresses the human cellular structure and could kill a human being if you were overexposed. So this shows us that they were very exact in manipulating the instruments for that very reason, for control. They were very precise in tuning it to that exact 440 hertz, where when the F sharp tone was hit, it would stress the system and stress the cells. It would touch the smallest part of you instantly. That is intrusive. This is the power of music. This is why you had groups like Earth, Wind, and Fire that came into the knowledge and understood frequencies and how it was affecting the actual being and what we really were. Groups like the Fifth Dimension. Start thinking about their names. The Four Tops, the Four Elements. Start thinking about, you got to put this stuff in perspective. Stevie Wonder. If you don't know what wonder is, you see, these are all things associated with the universe, with melanin, frequency, and vibration. But as usual, a lot of things have to be given in code because people felt endangered. I'm just choosing to decode some of it. You got to get the rest yourself. But what I will do is give you some real solid connections and jump off points. So, why does this matter that they're manipulating us with this certain frequency? You say, okay, well, what's the big deal? I don't know if people are really dying from it. I'm going to tell you something. That's why it's very important to study yourself and to know yourself, because if you don't, you're going to create and you're going to make yourself a victim by ignorance. Right? This matters because the way we're affected is by the frequency actually shutting down 95% of the brain. Yes, I said 95. The right brain, mainly. The right brain operates the heart mind through divine community, which means that the right brain affects the heart space, the heart energy. That is the connection to the brain, comes through the right brain. Its connection to the heart. This is what they call divine community, the unseen connection, the unseen interworkings with each other. So I'm going to stop this part of the episode right here, where I just linked the mind with the heart space and told you that the 440 hertz actually shuts down 95% of the brain, making you susceptible to whatever the subject matter is. So that was my explanation to show you how once the frequency has you, the subject matter can easily come on in and affect you, right? On levels that you don't even know you're allowing to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right back in with a fresh clock, and I'm going to do the second half of this episode, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper. All right? Be right back. Wholeness. All right, we're back with part 2 of this episode. This is the frequency and vibration episode, part 2, section 2. So, we were last talking about the heart mind, which is the connection between the brain, mainly the right brain, and the heart space through divine community. So, going from that, because we were talking about how you're affected, by the 448 hertz, right? What it does as far as it's shutting down the 95% of the brain, mainly the right. So going from that, it's kind of the same as, this is a great example that a guy gave that was pretty knowledgeable also about this type of information. That it's the same as that if you were driving and listening to a station on the radio, and it was something that you really liked and you wanted to keep listening to it, and the song started to kind of get staticky, like you were moving away from the signal. And you said, it's not that bad. I'm just going to keep listening to it. I really like this song. I really want to hear it. I'll just put up with a little bit of static. I can still kind of hear the song. And then it gets to a point where the static gets a little bit worse. And you actually get upset. And you quickly cut that thing off, almost like you slapped it, the radio. Because what you might not realize is that static was going to start to change you if you had to further be subjected to it. And this is what this stuff does. This is why you choose not to listen to static, right? Because the knowledge of that is that it affects you in a way that is detrimental to your health, your brain, everything. It doesn't make a sense, right? And in here, we're in a place where we rely on things to make sense or show us a relation to our senses so that we're not concerned. So when the static became that bad, and if you actually got to the point where actual frustration, where you're moving down and frustration started setting in, you if you let it go beyond that, you would actually start to get physically ill at this point. That would be the next phase of that. Whether it was to get dizzy and throw up, whatever it was, you would start to have physical effects, and it would just go on from there until it was affecting you on that cellular level to where it was just knocking those cells off. It would have to be powered up within you. So that would eventually kill the human, overexposure to that type of frequency. And a lot of us don't realize that we've been inharmonious in the way we've been living. We haven't been living 528 hertz. So right now, there's a static playing in our song. And a lot of us, there's some static in our song, whether it's physical illness, whether it's mental illness, or a mental disparity between you and you. Really, no thing is mental illness. It's just something you need to work out. And if you've gone so far that you can't work it out yourself, which there's also no such thing as, but you can be brought to believe that, especially in today's day and age, then somebody that knows what they're doing can step in and help you. But the larger point is that most people don't realize that the music for most of their lives has been actual static, and they've never actually known the difference. Because it's one of the best kept secrets. Your music is 440 hertz for most of your life. The music you've grew up to, loved, cried to, all that, been over emotional into, got angry to, broke stuff to, rap music, mosh music, rock music, soul music, country music. It's all been 440 hertz. It's all been designed to affect you, not for you to enjoy it. It's different. Look up some of your favorite songs in 432 hertz. Listen to them, and I guarantee you they will feel different when you're listening to them. They will feel almost more lighthearted. You'll have a more of an innocent, so to speak, connection to them. It's hard to explain, but do it. Listen to a song and listen to that same song in 432 hertz, and I guarantee you, I'll put money on it that you'll find the difference. You'll feel the difference. And you'll say, wow, why would there be multiple versions of these songs in different hertz? That's messed up. They should just put it in the hertz that helps you and not the hertz that hurts you. Right? Let's start seeing these connections. So 440 hertz, right? 532 hertz is harmony. That is the frequency that plants grow to. Trees, everything, flowers, 528. That is that life-giving, replenishing source energy frequency. Now that's why sometimes when you turn on these frequencies, you look at YouTube and try to find frequencies, it'll say like God frequency and stuff like that. Don't get scared. Just understand that they're talking about 528 hertz. They're talking about life frequency. Everything, the energy of everything that has the energy to be alive. I'm going to dive deeper into this understanding of God as far as it relates to the God particle and molecules and atoms, right? I'm going to show you something with that on this part of the episode. So, yeah, the grass and trees on opposite sides of the country. I thought about that one day and I was like, wow, we got all these different parts of the world and grass and trees grow everywhere. They didn't have to communicate with each other to know how to do that. The divine connection is the body of earth. It is the frequency that is being spread everywhere. A tree in Georgia didn't need the knowledge of a tree in California to grow. Same species or not. We got to understand that as people and being in a human form, we operate on something like that as well. But we don't take it as plainly as even the plants do, or as even the insects or the animals do. They know when to move and how to move and who to move with for survival. They do. You don't. So this frequency and vibration is a really big deal. Einstein said himself, one of his, I was really interested in Albert Einstein as I was in my 20s. For some reason, he just, I started looking up everything he did because once I started taking these little IQ tests and saw that they said I had a high IQ, I wanted to know what it meant to have a high IQ. And let me start looking into people that also supposedly had high IQs and how their lifestyle was, because that's more important to me than what numbers on a test say or a chart, because those change. So it was more to me about people that's considered whatever type of intelligent. Let me look into their lifestyle. I want to know more about what they ate and what they did every day versus the judgment of them, right? Were they smart or not? I don't care so much about their capabilities as I do that combined with lifestyle. Lifestyle is very important. It reminds me of a brand that's up and coming that I very much so support. It's called Everyday Diligence, EDD, Diligence brand. I'm going to talk to the creator and I'm going to get his permission. I'm going to put the link in the episode description. This guy's really on the ball with his vision and what he's doing. As far as this brand, it is a life work balance brand, right? Emphasis on life. And this guy's a designer by nature and a designer by craft. And I won't say much more until I get his permission, but I do want to link you guys to his stuff because it's a brand I believe in. I know I don't get paid or sponsored by this brand, but I do have many of the shirts and merchandise. So do a lot of my friends. And it just says diligence on a lot of the shirts. And then he has his own symbols that have their own knowledge. He uses Braille as a factor to show you how to feel versus always trying to take in one way, right? Through the optical. So very interesting brand. Everyday Diligence, EDD, Diligence brand. Be on the lookout for it because as it progresses and grows, I'll definitely be sharing and going on that journey with him as well. And I want to take the audience on that journey because I think you guys will get a lot from the feeling that even I get when I put those shirts on, and my friends as well. We put those shirts on, man. We go out about our business. We notice people are looking at us and we remember what shirt we got on. We look down. It's like, oh, they're seeing that diligence, that everyday diligence. And they're like, oh, he's about that diligence life. Okay. Shout out to Everyday Diligence. But all right, let's get back to it. Just reminded me, when we were talking about this this frequency and vibration, man, because everything is everything, right? So we talk about being in tune with nature, the balance of being versus doing. We're talking about the energy that's creating and maintaining and sustaining everything that we keep referring to as the Godhead, right? The source being. So, like I said, man, the nature doesn't have to communicate with each other because that's already implanted in the genetics of this place. Even that color green or that frequency of 528, it spreads everywhere, right? No matter the distance in between. So that's just the same as if you're on the phone with somebody, you're doing something, and you guys start connecting with your topics and your ideas, and you start becoming on the same wavelength or frequency. This is what we're talking about. Distance won't matter at that time, right? You can be on the same frequency anywhere. So this is what nature shows us. And if you've ever been on the phone with somebody long distance and y'all been on the same page, right? In what book? The great book. Think about some of the things we say and we can start understanding what we're all referencing at the same time. So, the universal book. We're on the same page, I hope, right now. So they got this theory. When you start talking about water in the body and the importance of it, when you start looking into this type of stuff, a lot of people refer to it as God water. They refer to it as God water. You know, our bodies are mostly water at this point. In the past, they used to say we were 85 to 89% water, somewhere around there. Now they say it's in the 70s. Because basically what's happening is that we are people becoming dehydrated from the different poisons in the products, the different medicines, the different things being put into the food, the GMOs. This stuff is dehydrating us. And is lowering the water count of the body. So keep that in mind. That's why it's very important to stay hydrated, because water is not just needed within the body. The entire body uses water at all different places within the body. The skin needs a different amount of water than, let's say, the pancreas or the eyeballs, right? Everything needs its own level of water. So you got to know this stuff. It doesn't just spread out everywhere it needs to go. If you drink one glass of water, that one glass spreads out everywhere. No, it doesn't work that way. It has to push through. It has to be able to spread everywhere out by being interconnected. So that's why it's important to take in certain amounts of water, because you need to get that to come in and work as a whole within the system, as the system, and become the system. Water becomes blood quickly, right? So you gotta know what kind of water you're putting in your blood. That's water mixing with the ancestors. If you want to be more technical on the metaphysical side of it. The blood crystals, remember, that contain the ancestor energy that create you. You are a creation of everything before you. Never forget that. That's why you look like your great-grandfather or whoever the case may be. Those are all genes, genetics, passed down, traits, energy, memory. Right? Your DNA is your genetic memory of your experience. So, we're basically being dehydrated by everything they're doing. And because water is the most energy conductive of all materials, that is what makes it extremely important to the body. Remember, if I put a little bit of electricity in some water, it's going to shoot through that water so fast, and it's going to touch all of the water, because water is the most energy conductive material that there is. You have a body of still water and you barely tap it, that ripple goes through the entire body of water. That is how energy conductive it is, right? I just want to give you a clear view, a clear picture on what I'm talking about based on energy conductivity of water. So it's very sensitive to every vibration of the body, even once it goes into the body. That's why stillness is the key. That's still water. Still waters run deep. Now can you put that together? Right? Meditation, stillness, still the water. Go into the depth of your thoughts, your mind. Still waters run deep. So the function of our DNA, which stands for dinucleic acid, is, now you got to follow me on this. The function of the DNA, which I told you was memory for everything you're doing, right? But this is how it memorizes. Its function is light and sound reception and transmission, okay? This is referred to as photon and phonon reception transmission for intercellular communication and cellular upregulation. Now, that sounds complicated. It's not, okay? Let's break it down. Dinucleic acid, DNA. What does it do? It takes light and sound. Reception and transmission, it receives and transmits light and sound. Okay, follow me so far. This is also referred to as photon, phonon reception. Photon means light, photo, photograph, memory and light. Phonon, phono, phone, telephone, sound. So photon, phonon reception, light and sound reception and transmission for intercellular communication. So this is what's connecting all of those trillions of cells and keeping them on the same page, your DNA. This is why you think you're you. This is why you think you look like people in your family. Because your DNA is keeping you on that page at all times, even though it constantly regenerates itself cellularly. I don't know if you know how deep this is. Even though you're constantly regenerating yourself cellularly in water, the DNA is making sure that you always come back as yourself. Photon reception transmission for intercellular communication. And here is the regeneration part for cellular upregulation. Cellular upregulation is the knowledge that your cells are always being regulated to be able to participate in the now. This is cellular upregulation. All right? This is you being able to be grounded in the now. As within, so without. So as those cells are grounded in the now within you on the cellular level, the trillions of them, so are you, the thing that thinks it is one organism, that is a makeup of trillions of things. This is the same way that you remanifest yourself in the now, but we call them up here, we call them moments. Okay? And you can also affect yourself backwards, the opposite way. You can remember that you are the whole, responsible for the trillions, and what you choose consciously to take in and do with your body can ensure the health of the trillions of you inside of you. Right? I told you this was going to get a little deep. So from here, knowing how we regenerate, we know that these are smaller versions of ourselves and of life itself and the body, or the collective of the cells, or the souls. The cells and the souls come from the same words, and this is because the cells create this image that you believe to be the one you, right? You also believe you have a soul. That is a collective of your cells, because guess what? Each of your cells believes that same thing. So you got trillions of souls or trillions of cells that are creating the image of the one, the singularity, you. All is reflection. All is self. Remember, the best way to remember how those cells look and function as you is to think about looking at the grass in the morning, or any scene where you see all that dew, all those droplets of water. And when you bend down to look at them closely, you see your one face in each drop equally. That is you. All those trillions of reflections giving you that one reflection. Get it? So your DNA helps you perceive this imagery and believe that you are this. It's your DNA doing it. It's cosmic. So we are constantly remanifesting ourselves in water on a cellular level at all times. Nikola Tesla, I told you a 369 code he discovered. He also created what they call energy amplifiers. These are also called Tesla coils. I know if you've heard Nikola Tesla before, and if you understand why you have the Tesla that deal with a certain type of creative energy, then you can understand what I'm about to tell you. Because the creator of the Tesla, Elon Musk, is obsessed with Nikola Tesla because of this knowledge. So Tesla created what they call energy amplifiers and the Tesla coil, and his model is from the DNA strand, the structure of the double helix. You see? These are the things within the body that are what they are energy amplifiers. That is what your DNA is doing. They are energy amplifiers that are constantly giving you consistent reality. They're allowing you to not get lost within yourself through constant regeneration, right? So one really interesting thing about Nikola Tesla, do you know how he would come up with his inventions, and even when working with DNA, come up with these batteries? Because this is why batteries contain cells, right? He knew the connection. Batteries are cells, and he knew I can build this outside of my structure. And this could be something monumental. This is why they got rid of Tesla, and this is why the government held on to Nikola Tesla's paperwork until the early 2000s, until sometime in the 2000s. They released his paperwork with a lot of it blacked out and a lot of it missing. Look up Nikola Tesla's story. The government was on his ass because he knew things that he got from inside that everyone wasn't allowed to know yet about energy and how energy was actually free. You don't pay to energize yourself, you just go to sleep. And the things in you do work. Well, he figured out what in you was doing the work. How were you recharging without being plugged in? Get it? All great things and all great inventions come from you. So he was able to harness this type of energy. And one very interesting thing that he did is that he would actually go into meditation to do his invention. Peep what I'm about to tell you. He would go into meditation. This is little known facts. A lot of people did this back in the day that came up with things like Isaac Newton. A lot of these guys did. What they would do, Einstein did it as well. They would go into the mind. They would choose a shape like a triangle because that's probably the most powerful shape that there is as far as balance and how it is created, right? And the representation of the three, the mind, body, soul, everything that comes with the three connection, within the 369. The three is the most potent of that part of the connection, right? And they would take a shape like that and they would make it three-dimensional. Now I have a three-dimensional triangle, which is what? A pyramid, right? I'm just telling you what they would do. This is high knowledge. They would take a pyramid in their mind. This is how strong their minds were. They would make that three-dimensional pyramid very large within their mind, right? And then within their mind's eye, they would go inside of the pyramid. And they would sit there within their mind and meditate. Now, this is where Nikola Tesla would create his inventions and use them. And if he found a flaw in them, then in his waking life, he would go back to the blueprint and redesign. Very ingenious and deep way to get in contact with the most creative parts of himself. It's not mysticism to be involved within yourself. It's ingenious. You came with this stuff. Why not use it? Why not gain access to it through knowledge? Unlock yourself. Most of y'all running around with a locked phone. My phone is unlocked, just like my mind. I can use any carrier. See? Which means I will attain maximum signal wherever I end up. Everything metaphorical is also true in its own state, in its own context, right? So that was just something interesting I wanted to share with you that he did. And it was very, very interesting way to do things. And he did that so he would save on materials and time. He wouldn't be constantly creating here and having to destroy and using up resources. That's one of the main reasons that he did it that way. So, in my opinion, with this life experience, it's us constantly rewriting and proofreading and singing our own song all at one time. We're constantly rewriting it. We're constantly proofreading it and trying to approve it while we're singing it. This is life. This is all happening to the rhythm of your heart, your heartbeat. Your life then becomes somewhat of a freestyle, if you understand, the energy of freestyle session. This is essentially a freestyle with a slight amount of conscious thought behind it. It can also be perceived as a dance to your own rhythm. So it's like when they say dance like nobody's watching, you can probably put that in a better perspective. Live like nobody's watching. What is watching? Judging. Live like nobody's judging. Dance like nobody's watching. Same thing. So if you have the ability to dance like no one's watching, once you realize you have the ability to live like no one's judging, then guess what you should also realize is that it's been you holding on to the judgment the entire time. Because it is you that now just ended the cycle. Right? This is cellular regeneration at its best. So the laws of nature that do state that everything has its own vibration. The law of nature. If you've ever taken chemistry or anything like that, if you've ever learned about atoms, you know that everything that is made up of everything is made up of atoms, and everything that is made up of an atom is mostly made up of empty space. Atoms are in a constant state of motion. This is also the knowledge of Adam and Eve. Because within Eve is the energy. Within Adam, is the energy that makes the atom function. This is referred to as the Eve mitochondria. This is the Eve that is within Adam. Okay? Don't get caught up in storylines. So, these atoms are always in motion, and depending on the speed of the motion of the atoms, we say things are solid, or they're liquid, or they're gas. Sound is also a vibration. So are thoughts. So you got to understand, this is the connection with manifesting. Everything that you think of can be manifested because they're all energetic vibration. It's all from the same type of energy. And if you can make one thing with that energy, I can make another thing. If I can make bread with dough and I can make cake with dough, then it's the same thing essentially. Dough. Right? So everything that manifests itself in your life is because it matches the vibration from your thoughts or your energy. So when we look at an atom is made up of, this is a quick science class, an atom is made up of, the middle is what they call the nucleus. Then you have the electrons, right? Now, like I said before, the speed that the electrons move around the nucleus, the patterns that they move is called the orbit, okay? The speed in which they move gives us the perception of what we're perceiving, whether we think it's solid, liquid, or gas, which is to say, how easily can we go through it at our current vibration. So when we judge things based on their atoms, it's really only a comparison of you and that, right? So the crazy thing about an atom is that it constantly moves with this type of energy that no one can understand. This is where God comes from, the God concept. Because the electrons are moving in an orbit that is very consistent. It does not change. The speed is outrageous. The patterns are outrageous, how they're moving around each other and not colliding. Because when you have these things collide, it can cause explosions. Why do you think they make what's called the atomic bomb? These are made from atoms. Protons and electrons colliding will cause explosions. That's how volatile you are as a creature. Your smallest form are these explosive things. That is your smallest form, the atoms. And then within the atoms, we have the protons, electrons, and the nucleus, and the neutrons, and all that. So this pattern that these electrons are in each atom, running these cycles so fast, causing this vibration that is causing the cells to vibrate, that is giving you life. This is what's charging your cells, your battery. These are your energy levels. This is why it's important to take in the right type of water. Even with the actual battery in your car, they say make sure you got water in the battery or the car won't start. You won't get the spark. What kind of water do you put in machinery? Distilled. What kind of water do you put in your body? Not distilled, mineral. Because you're a different type of machinery. You're mineral based. That's why the Bible tries to tell you that you come from dirt, because they're trying to tell you that you're mineral based. It's just a code. You will go back to the minerals, the thing that you're inhabiting, that body. It runs on minerals and water. The highest form of electronics. The car has to take in distilled water, which is water that is void of mineral. The human body should not take in distilled water because it will strip the body of the minerals to try to achieve wholeness within itself. It has been put in an environment that is rich in mineral when it itself is lacking mineral. Not smart. Not smart. Because remember, everything is alive, as is water, air, and everything else. Right? So remember, when it comes to a lot of this, it does get complicated, but just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's not true, and doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue to look into these topics and things that I'm talking about, because this is some real interesting stuff. And I know a lot of you guys love this type of information. So understanding what I told you about the cells and that we're all made up of atoms, which means that we're all mostly empty space. That is one of the hardest things to understand in the human mind, is that we perceive so many things as solid, but the truth is within everything, because everything is made of atoms, and atoms are 90% empty space. That means everything is essentially, more than anything, nothing. Just energy. And remember, this empty space is where the orbiting is happening. So it's not just empty space. It's an empty space that's charged with energy and potential that we don't understand. And that is what they call God. That energy, source energy. I've taken you down to your source, an atomic level. Adam and Eve. I just brought you back to Adam and Eve, the beginning of you, right? In the beginning. They didn't say the beginning of the world. You took it the wrong way. They inferred that it was a world being created by referencing earth things. If you would have just studied Hebrew a little bit, you would have saw that through translation, they chose to put it that way. There is no solidity in the universe. A form that appears solid is actually created by an underlying vibration. Vibrations express themselves in corresponding geometrical figures. And in this way, the actual crystals start to build up to express the energy vibration. So even the shape of a crystal, a rock, a tree, anything is expressing to you the vibration of where its source energy is coming from. A tree grows upward because its source vibration energy is being pushed out of the earth. We grow outward because our source vibration energy is inside of us, at our core. You see? So just like I said earlier about the crystals collectively that form in the earth, and how the snowflakes form within their atmospheric pressure and vibration that they are created in and frozen in. Crystals collectively form a body of an element according to its particular vibration. Now, what this means is that the form of the snowflake and the faces of flowers and the faces of you and all of us and our bodies are all because they are responding to some type of sound or frequency in the environment or in nature. Crystals, plants, and humans are all music that has taken on a visible form. You are simply a song. You are a collection of vibrational energy. So like I said earlier, if you scatter sand over the plate that you put on the speaker, another way is to put sand over the head of a drum, and you use a tuning fork or something to hit the drum to cause a vibration. The sand will start to shift and assume the geometrical figure that corresponds to the actual frequency. And now you will be able to see what a sound looks like. This is why some people can hear color. And you say they have this certain type of ability where some special small percent of people can hear color and feel sound and see sound. That is because within their brain, there is a blurred barrier between the understanding of vibrations and energies. And they get to experience them within the other formats of experiencing them through the senses, right? So sand and that water is always going to take on the frequency of the thing that is around it, whatever it is. And we say, well, why does water droplets form circular shape? Well, that shows you the pressure of the atmosphere as far as what we are within, because it is that same thing that is keeping our bodies from exploding. It's the same thing that makes a water take its form once you put a drop on a table. It is the level of pressure in the environment and the vibration of this place. Well, why weren't we formed in a circle? Because we were formed inside of something else. Like a Russian doll, we were one thing pulled out of another thing that is a bigger form of what we are. And so on. We weren't formed by the elements of this place, not now, but a long time ago, and evolved to what we are now. We don't know what humans used to be shaped like, based on the changes in the environment of then to now. With so many inventions and things going on that man is doing to alter the environment, it's hard to say what's natural anymore, right? And that's why it's important to get back to what you know. Get back to yourself first. So within the different communities, right? Science, medicine, metaphysics, they all understand and agree that there are certain frequencies that can repel disease. There are certain frequencies that can destroy disease. This is very important. So this is the link between frequency and vibration and health. The vibration of the water you drink, all that. You can speak to your water. You can add intention to your water before you drink it. Because if you are holding a glass of water and you are thinking certain thoughts and speaking certain things into the water, you can feel while you're holding the glass that your vibrations are going through the water. And then you consume the water. Do you know how powerful that is? It's so simple and so strong. So everything in nature vibrates at a different frequency. We know that. So within quantum physics, which I talk about from time to time, it describes the universe as nothing more than vibrational strings of energy. Scientific research tries to show that different parts of our body have their own sonic signature. That's why I told you, your organs, which is where your chakras are set, which all vibrate their own frequency. They're telling you this stuff has been proven. They call it sonic signature in different parts of the body. In other words, the sounds of the cells of your heart differs from the sounds of the cells in your lungs or the sounds of the cells in your feet or anywhere else. All those cells are full versions of you, but in the specific position that they're in, they're being role players. And they're fully engulfed in the role that they're playing. They're actors. When the body becomes stressed out or diseased, it no longer produces the correct sound wave in those sections of the body. In other words, they are not vibrating at the same frequency. It is not their optimal vibration. It is not their best frequency, resonant frequency. And what you have to understand is that these things need to be recalibrated. This is like chakra or anything else. This is how you rebalance the chakra or recalibrate the certain vibrational points of the body. You got to understand the lower and higher vibrations of your energy. This is no different than what I said about the piano keys and the lower and higher vibrations of each key, right? This is the same knowledge. So you got to know the body. You got to know yourself. They do have machines and things that can alter your own frequencies and your own vibrations. All life vibrates. This is what I'm going to talk about for the remainder of this episode. Everything living moves at all times. Nothing sits still. All colors and sounds vibrate to a frequency, and nothing actually sits idle because of everything being vibrational, right? Back in the day, in Egyptian times, in ancient Kemet, a lot of these vibrations and frequencies were recorded by one they call Hermes Trismegistus. A lot of people don't believe in this stuff, but they wear Hermes belts. They don't understand the knowledge, right? Hermes Trismegistus. Trismegistus means thrice great. Hermes, the thrice great. Hermes, 3 times great. Or Hermes, 3 times born. Remember, you're born into greatness. These are the codes. Hermes Trismegistus. Okay? Which is also Hermes is the same as, it'll come to me real quick, Thoth of ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet. If you've ever heard of Thoth, what they call the Egyptian god of knowledge and of recording information. Okay, so Thoth is Hermes Trismegistus. You have to understand that in ancient Egypt and Kemet, a lot of these energies were not actual people. They were people in different forms of energy, right? So they were personified as the energies that they were. And they like to take the energies and separate them as their own energy. That is the clearest way of explaining an energy. So this is what you get with a lot of these different deities or gods or things that have been personified. These are just energies personified. Do not forget that. So Hermes Trismegistus is Thoth. Okay? So if you look up Hermes' work and you look up Thoth's work, it's the same works. I'm talking about the Emerald Tablets. I'm talking about the 7 Hermetic Principles, which coincides with the 7 chakra. The principles of the body. The principles of the earth, which is the body. This is all the same stuff over and over. So some of the designs on ancient structures are actually the patterns of the sounds and vibrations of those notes being played. So when you look at ancient Kemet and you see some of the stuff that they were able to create, this is where they got it from. And I'm going to give you a secret that you can look up. This is why a lot of people don't understand why the pyramids were created and how they were created that way, with those blocks being so heavy. The white man's mentality is so mechanical, he cannot understand what is beyond him. He cannot see things as a whole by stepping outside of something and witnessing it, because he is so engulfed in everything. That is just his position, okay? He cannot understand that through frequency and vibration, heavy things can be levitated and moved. So I'm gonna leave it at that. If you understand that they had knowledge of this stuff, you can put 2 and 2 together with these pyramids and how certain things were created that cannot be created to this day, because we are not thinking outside of the proverbial box. We're stuck in it. Because we're letting a culture think for us, the European culture. They're telling you what's innovative. They are thinking for you at this point when they stole their innovation from us. So it's a very strange way of perceiving where we are now. Okay? So a lot of the designs were from that. And I even like to go back and listen to a lot of the frequencies, because they'll put music notes on their hieroglyphics, if you understand some of the hieroglyphics. So you could actually hear some of the tones and songs that they wrote and they had back then based on the hieroglyphics. Right? And when you listen to a lot of the songs, you close your eyes and meditate and understand that it's taking you somewhere. So some of the more radical proponents of the 432 hertz, we talked about 528, 432 is that it's connection to nature, right? Everything in nature has that basis in 432 vibrations per second. That is its connection, right? So things are growing at 520 hertz, 528 hertz energetic frequency, but at 432 hertz vibration per second, at 432 vibrations per second. So a lot of this has not been verified or is not even verifiable, but it is within the same mathematics, and it is hard to not see within it once you start to measure what you can measure, right? Nothing really falls out of those measurements. There is one realm of nature that does support the idea of 432 hertz as an organic basis, and that is the actual movement of the sun across the sky. Now, without going into too much of an explanation about it, but the note C, based on being tuned to 432 hertz, that vibration, all right, the 432 hertz at note C has a rate of 1 vibration per second. Where have we seen that? In the 60 seconds within a minute, in the 60 minutes within an hour, and this is where we get into the knowledge of the sun moving across the sky. We know that an hour, the word hour was taken from the word Horus. The word hours is Horus. So 12 hours in a day of light is 12 Horus in a day, okay? You don't have to know the knowledge to be a part of it and to be moving it around. This is why they say Horus moved across the sky 12 times in a day. Osiris is also Horus. We'll get, I told you, these things are the same thing. Same energies manifested into different forms, energetic forms. So 12 hours of light is the 12 hours of Horus. And they always said at Horus's 6th step, he was at his highest rule and power within that day, right? So we're talking about from 6 a.m. to 12 noon. That is the 6th step. That is the highest point of the sun in the day. So we understand where these things come from. So Horus is ours. We get these connections, and what I'm doing now is giving you the vibrational formats. So the tuning of the scale based on 440 does not lend itself to a reduction in the basis, reduction on any basis which corresponds to the cosmic movements or rhythms on the sun, the moon, or anything else. 440 is very unnatural, but 432 is very natural even to the sun, and is moving across the sky like I just showed you. And even to our hours, minutes, and seconds. 440 is something that has been implanted on purpose to be disruptive, okay? The difference between 440 and 432 is 8 vibrations per second, but it is a perceptible difference in the human experience. That's where it makes the most difference. And I told you what it does to your brain as far as how it shuts it down, okay? So we're talking about things like vibrational medicine when we refer to how these same frequencies can heal and cure diseases. It's based on the idea of resonant frequencies, similar to a tuned string on a musical instrument resonating with anything tuned to the same frequency. So if you want to tune something, you can pluck that certain chord on the guitar. It will resonate with something that's separate from the guitar that is supposed to resonate at the same frequency. This is why we have things like tuning forks and stuff like that. That's how you resonate things and understand that they are at the same pitch. So in an opera, like an opera singer that can shatter a glass by singing at a certain pitch, she knows how to get to the resonant frequency of the glass. If beyond that, it will shatter the structure of the glass because everything vibrates at its own resonant frequency, okay? Some scientists have philosophies and recognize vibrational elements as an important part of the universe because we know that everything moves in procession, right? So this is the same as talking about an orchestra when we're talking about how everything is orchestrated, okay? We've been talking frequency and vibration the whole time. It's hard to link these things up with Western medicine and Western religion. They have blocked a lot of knowledge in this Western hemisphere of where we are. Okay, and how this stuff works on the human body, so it'll stop us from also discovering things that heal the body. I might do another episode on this if we don't get it all out the way I want to. The human body is made up of electromagnetic vibrations, which each atom and element of the body, each organ, each organism having its own electromagnetic unit of vibration that is necessarily for the sustenance of and the equilibrium or the balance in that particular organism or organ. Okay? You become the organism based on the conjunction of your organs and assimilation. Okay? Each unit. Okay? So every part, if your liver fails, that is organ failure, right? Your liver went into a low vibration. One part of your body can go into a low vibration and put another part or more of your body also into lower vibration. Okay? So a cell, if you don't know this, has because it is a unit of life, just like you. I told you, every cell is a full version of you. So each cell, catch this, being its own unit of life, has the capacity of reproducing itself, just like you as a whole, because you are that, right? But it has the capacity of reproducing itself by a law of nature known as reproduction division, right? So when a force in any organ or element of the body becomes deficient in its ability to reproduce balance, whenever the chakras get out of balance, that is the necessary balance to sustain the physical existence of that thing. I hope I'm not going too deep. This should not be too deep, right? To sustain the physical balance of that thing and its reproduction, what happens is when that fails, that portion becomes deficient in electromagnetic energy. This is how your vibration drops. It is the vibration. It is the electromagnetic energy. I'm just trying to oversimplify this for you. Okay? This can become an injury or a disease. Whichever kind of way it manifests, that's all that's happening, right? Low vibration. So this can come from external force, internal force, so I can hit you over the head with something. It can come from anywhere. But what will happen is that it will instantly knock you into a lower vibration than what you were in. Okay, this is injury, right? So we got to understand that the body has certain requirements to maintain itself, and when things get put into a lower vibration, this is where you get disease and all that type of stuff from, right? I'm gonna try to squeeze a couple more things in. I'm gonna end the episode. I'm getting to my time point. I got about 4 minutes. Everything vibrates in life as its own vibration. So is mind, so is matter, okay? Electricity or vibration is the same energy, same power that we call the Godhead, right? Because we're trying to understand what started the vibration, what allows us to continue vibrating. That is the God force energy that we all have, okay? All force is vibration, as all comes from central vibration. This is what we talk about when we're talking about the Godhead. This is what we refer to in science or other forms of information as the central vibration. Okay? Electricity is what they also say is God in action. If you see this, feel this, or know this, you will find out that not only does the body become revived or revivified, but by the creating of in every atom in you having this knowledge or information of this creative force or principle within you, as it will relate to your spirit man, then will relate to your mind, and then will relate to your body. This will relieve you, the complete being, as a renewed being. Okay? Anything that arises in the mind starts flowing as a sensation in the body. Okay? You are the one always doing it to yourself, whether you are hurting or healing yourself. There's one cell, I'm going to try to squeeze this in. One cell called a paramecium, you can look this up. Well, actually, they did research on it. It actually exploded based on frequency. It was a single cell organism that was bombarded by radio frequency waves, and it exploded, and his fluids all spilled out. These are done by certain frequencies called Rife, R-I-F-E frequencies, based on the person that discovered this technology. Okay, look it up. All right. He was able to understand that there were certain things that could destroy the frequency of disease, because if everything is frequency and vibration, so is disease. So this has been the frequency vibration episode. I'm going to end it right here before it cuts me off. Thank you, listeners, repeat listeners, return listeners, first-time listeners. Shout out to that listener that recently hit me up on email. I have yet to respond. I've just been doing a lot, but I will get back with you. So I wanted to shout you out on the cast today. King Austin. Shout out to King Austin. He wanted to reach out to me through my email and let me know what he really felt about the podcast, what it's doing for him and his family, and I really appreciate it. Feel free, guys, to hit me out. I'm going to start throwing some shout outs here and there. I will leave my email in the description again, along with my PayPal and anything else, not PayPal, but my Cash App at least, if you want to support the podcast outside of the platforms. So I thank you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you got something from this episode. I know it was a lot. Listen to it more than once. Get your notes out, and you'll have more than enough to start your own research in on frequency, vibration, and music. All right? So until next time, peace, wholeness, not pieces, but just peace of mind, wholeness, and I will see you next time on My 3 Cents.